G'day, Jim Stackpool from CertaintyAdviceGroup.com. Thanks for joining me. Today I want to share with you some thoughts on how to help you identify what I call good advice conversations. How do you know you've had, or continue to have good advice conversations with your financial advisor or whoever you see as your key advisor? Now, not every decision needs a thorough advice conversation, as I'm about to outline. But I'd say when there's crucial decisions being made or crucial conversations being needed, and there's three things about a crucial conversation, just so put this conversation and what I'm asking you to notice or question or listen for into some sort of context. And so if the stakes are high, so if the decision that you're looking at involves, for instance, if you're planning for your retirement, your stakes are high. If you're planning to, say, start a family and you want to make sure you do it effectively, from a financial perspective, stakes are high. Changing jobs, stakes are high. Losing jobs, changing life situations, aged care, selling big houses, or all sorts of stuff. But it's whatever stakes are high to you, that means enough to you. It doesn't need to be explained. You just know when the stakes of this decision or this period of our lives, they have high ramifications. The second criteria for the things I'm about to point out for and make up a need for a good advice conversation is when the options available are complex. There's many options and they vary and they can be quite complex to you. Now, it doesn't mean if they're not complex to others, but they're complex to you. And so, again, another need for having a good advice conversation and knowing what is one. And thirdly, quite often regarding financial decisions and waypoints in our life, there's emotions. And emotions quite often can be running high. Let's say their emotions are strong. And so another reason for us to consider a good advice conversation. Okay, so how do we go about it? What are those key elements to consider or listen out for or just notice and to be able to ensure confidently that you are having good advice conversations? So talk about to approach it, we've broken it up a bit. I've broken it up. And I think there's three key, I call them gears, because they drive the advice process, or maybe they're just drivers, another way to look for it. In any good, important, crucial advice conversation, there's three core gears and drivers to it. Now, one of the gears is obviously, or maybe not obviously, one of the gears, and let's say it's going around this way like a driver, one of the gears is the advice itself. Now, if it's not a crucial conversation, you're just looking for a piece of tax advice, fairly simplistic, or what shares to buy, or a loan to get, or insurance to get, or a super fund to transfer money into, if it's not crucial, then this is probably one of the driving gears, one of the driving issues. What is the best simple piece of tax advice I can get? But if it's crucial, the particular piece about the advice is in fact it's the lesser thing to listen out for. In fact, I'm not trying to downgrade advice. Advice is crucial, but in fact, in context to, is it a good advice conversation for you when stakes are high, emotions are complex, options are complex and emotions are strong? We should be listening out for other stuff, and other stuff is this bigger gear. And notice that these gears run off each other, and so the advice gear runs off this bigger gear, which is what I call the trust gear. And so things that you should be listening out for that might be, is this really a good conversation from the trust perspective? So things that may be questionable about this is that if you're hearing lots of stuff about who might be providing the advice and the awards they've had and the experience they've got, the conversation is full initially of talking about how long they've been doing business for and how many people they've got. Yeah, okay, that's all good, but little bells would be going off in my head. And also too, if you're having a conversation and you're feeling like, I'm a bit confused here, they're using words and jargon and discussions that, I don't even understand. And so that, again, another bell to be going off, something to listen for, something to question and say, look, do you mind not using the jargon? Specifically though, if you're in an advice, and it's an advice conversation you're after, And you're hearing lots about the products that they provide and the range of products. Yes, we can do tax for you, we can do superannuation, we can do shares, we can do investments, we can do ETFs, we can do self-managed accounts, we can do cash flow. Yeah, okay, they're all good. It's like walking into a supermarket, but I'm not walking into a supermarket. And if you were working into a supermarket, that's great, but I'm not too sure because the options are complex, emotions may be strong, and stakes are high. And particularly if in this, is it really building trust when you hear that the payment for this advice is generally, well, if you've got, for instance, $100,000 in your superannuation account, we'll only charge you 1% of that as part of our advice. Well, this option's complex, and so the advice might be saying that they're only going to get paid if we keep the superannuation with them. So is there a perceived or real conflict there? Now, there may not be, but you've got to ask the question. A bell's got to go off. So the things we're looking for in this trust side are more around, well, why do you need this advice? What are you trying to achieve with this, in the situation you're in? Or what are you trying to overcome? What are the issues you're concerned about that you may need to overcome with this advice? And again, not talking about them, they're talking about you, and they're asking you potentially to bring in any other significant other in your life, your life partner, whoever that may, I want to understand what they're seeking for too, if the advice may affect their future life. And so here we're looking for what's the quality of questions about us and about why this advice might make sense as compared to the products they may provide. We call it a bit of a discovery. You are having a bit of discovery about the options you've got, or about the circumstances you've had, or about the paths you may need to take without any bias, real or perceived, towards a specific solution. So they're things to listen out for. Are they building in this one area about trust? Another key area, though, and another, in fact, I'd say a bigger wheel, and a neglected wheel to date with the provision of financial advice, is the value wheel. So ultimately, we were challenged that the bigger indicator of a good advice conversation, when the stakes for you are high, the options might seem complex, and the emotions may be strong, is that this fundamental gut feel, is this actually valuable for me? And let's understand what value isn't. Value isn't about a product's performance. Yeah, look, I expect the surgeon's scalpel to be effective, but it's what the surgeon's scalpel enables me to do. So value isn't, I expect the products to perform. Do they expect them to be the absolute best possible product? As long as they perform. If value is, you're committing up for a fee that on an ongoing basis you're going to be charged based upon the percentage again of how much you've got in your super, or how big your insurance policy. Well, how can I? Let me get this straight. I'm actually agreeing to pay you every year from now on based on a certain percentage of the quantity of money you're managing, as compared to the quality of advice you're providing. A bell should go off. If you're coming across and showing me, well, this is cheaper advice or cheaper alternative what you've been on, or if it's a convenient, there's a special means that right now this is convenient for you, this is easy for you. Now, quite often with advice, we're facing a situation that the advice might be about our habits and our paradigms, our beliefs, and sometimes that's not so easy. And so when people are continually talking about this is what you want, sometimes the best possible advice is to challenge us. We call it the invisible hand. It's either pushing you towards a better way of managing your money, your life, your paradigms, your habits, or pulling you through a situation you're finding hard personally to get through because you've had to change some of your outlooks about life. So if people are saying the value is compared to others, you're doing very well, I don't care what others are doing. So these are all the little bells that should be going off in your head. If you're finding out that or hearing that the value they're promising in this crucial time for crucial advice is coming of these things. What should you be listening out for in terms of this value area? What you should be listening out for is not so much the products you need, but the path you're going to be on. And value is just assessed by your progress along your path And you want to see progress along a specific path, either to achieve more or to overcome some things you've never been able to overcome in your life. The value is annual, and so there's no commitment. There's a conversation each year that has to be valuable, outlines another valuable path for you, and then it's expressed in dollar terms for you to assess, like you buy everything else. Is that amount of money for this advice ongoing? Is it valuable for me? And you make that decision. It's valuable and relevant, not just cheap and convenient. And fundamentally, there's no conflicts with the advice. There's nothing that the particular approach you take doesn't give any other benefit, any other payment, any other credit benefit at all to the person providing the advice. They're only getting paid based upon the amount they're telling you that you need to pay for that advice, and there's no other kickback from a manufacturer of the advice, or even in some manufacturers take ownership in some of the firms providing the advice. There should be no kickback or no conflict if it's really in your best interests. Separation of advice from product. So there you have it. Hopefully a picture of some of the things to consider as you are faced with situations where the stakes are high, options are complex, and emotions may be strong, and to listen out for what we call, in order priority, for me, it's got to be clearly valuable. Secondly, you've got to come from a trusted source. And thirdly, is the quality of the advice. We expect the advice to be quality. Unless we're advisors, we can't really assess it, can we? Hope this has been valuable to you. Check out this and other like-minded, hopefully similar stories on certaintyadvicegroup.com. If you've got any feedback for me, love to hear it. Jim Stackwell signing off, certaintyadvicegroup.com. Cheers.